Hello and welcome to another video tutorial Monday. This week I will be showing you how to create a paper-pieced card that's simple, elegant, and perfect for a congratulatory card for either a wedding or a promotion or something like that, or a thank you card for that matter. So what I'm going to start out with is I cut out this piece of, it's just type paper, 3.75 inches by 5 inches, and that's just half an inch off each of the regular size card dimensions. And I've also cut the two pieces of cardstock that I'm going to be cutting and paper piecing to that same size. So those all line up. And what I'm going to do is just take a pencil and start drawing my lines. So we have the lines drawn, and now what I'm going to do is actually just put them on top of this, and I'm going to adhere them together with some repositionable adhesive. And in order to do that, I'm just putting it down like this, and then I need to let it dry for a second. So when the adhesive is no longer wet, you can go ahead and put your pieces together. And this will just help so that we don't have to do any special cutting and repositioning and putting it in a different place. We can just cut it out once and it will magically fit together. And actually, the way I'm doing this, you will be able to make two cards with these bases, just alternating the strips, obviously. So just nice and smooth cuts. Try to take as few scissor cuts as possible. So what I've done is went ahead and cut this out, and now what I'm going to do next is take a piece of type paper that's the same as the one I just cut up and use it to lay out my pieces to make sure they all fit. And next what we're going to do is just adhere these down to this piece of scratch paper. And you'll see it's not quite perfect on the edges here, but that's okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to ink each one of these edges with some tea dye distressing just to make it look a little bit more vintage. And then we can trim around the outside to make it more of a perfect rectangle. So I'm going to do that, and I'll be back in just a second. So I've went ahead and adhered these down and then trimmed around the edges with my X-Acto knife and my ruler. So now this is ready to be put on the card. But I decided what I wanted to do was add the touch of stitching, white stitching, to go over the top. So I have my off-white, my ecru, I guess you could say, and then my white over the top of it, which would be really elegant. So what I'm going to do is pull out my sewing machine, get that set up, and then stitch along these lines. So I'll be back to show you how to do that. Okay, so I'm back with my sewing machine, and now I'm just going to switch it to a zigzag switch right about in the middle, and then keep pretty much everything else the same. Maybe turn up my stitch length a little bit. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start, let's see, on this end and see what happens. Okay, and I'm cutting the thread in between each one just so that it doesn't get really tangled up. And then I'm just going to go back . And each time I'm just making sure that the line between the two different colors is staying right down the middle, so as you can see there. And it doesn't have to be perfect. As you can see, I went a little bit off there, but that's fine. It's just going to be part of the handmade nature of the card. So that's the sewing part, and I've gone across the whole thing with the zigzags. So I'm just going to put away my sewing machine, and I'll be back in a second. Okay, so I put my sewing machine away, and now I have this, and they have all these strings hanging off. Now, usually I would probably go through and pull the string to the back and do all this fancy stuff. But what I'm actually going to do for this is just fold them over and stick them down to the back, because that is easy and quick and you're not going to see it anyways. So that's fine. That's one of the awesome things about sewing on paper, is you only see one side of it. So you can really just kind of go crazy here and just tape them down to the back. Just using some washi tape here. But you could use Scotch tape if you wanted to, or anything like that. But I went ahead and trimmed the threads, so as you can see, they're just stuck to the back, which is fine. Looking good. And next, I'm going to adhere this to my card base with just my ATG. And I'm going to distress the edges with my tea-dye distress ink so that it matches the rest of the card. So I have that, and the sentiment I want to use is from Year of Flowers Roses from Paper Tray Ink. It's On Your Wedding Day. So I want to use this, and I want it to go about here. So what I'm going to do is actually take a piece of vellum and wrap it around the card. So I'm just going to grab a piece of vellum. Piece of vellum. This is just, actually I'm not sure what brand this is, honestly. But I'm just going to cut it down to, let's see, the sentiment would fit very well on a 1-inch strip. So I'll make it just a little bit bigger than 1 inch. I don't want it to get lost on the card, so. And then I'm just going to go ahead and stamp this like this. I'm just going to use some black StazOn because I know that it will dry on this vellum. I do have brown StazOn, but I don't really like the look of it, so I figured I'd just use this black one. And just kind of try to line it up here. Sorry, my head's in the way. There we go. Press firmly, don't wiggle it. There we go. And now it's going to go on the card looking like right about here and fold around the edges. So I can just... And this way, we don't have to put any adhesive on it either. See if it's dry. It's dry. Good, good. So I just made little pencil lines where it'll hit the edge of the card, and now I'm going to go back and just fold it, pre-fold it, and then erase my little notches here. And add a little bit of distress ink to the top and bottom here and the edges, just to make it blend in a little bit better with the card. So now you can just plop it on here, put it around the edge. And then once you have it straight on there, just flip it around. And then we can Just adhere it down one side at a time. Oops, I'm getting adhesive everywhere here. So we have our sentiment here, and I think the only thing missing from this is a little bit of ribbon right here, tied in a little tiny bow. Or maybe a knot, we'll see. So I'm just going to go ahead and, this is silk ribbon from Paperpiecing. It's my favorite. I wish it came in a wider size actually, because sometimes 1/4 inch isn't quite right, but this should look really cute. So I'm just going to focus on tying it around, getting a little bow here. And I'm just going to go ahead and trim this. I love these Tim Holtz scissors, still cut ribbon, even though I've cut so many other things with them. So, just slide this up a little bit. I was mainly focused on just getting it the right width of the card before, but I think I want the top of the vellum to be able to be seen. And then what we're going to do is just add some pearls, because you know I can't get enough of my pearls. Right here, below this. And we'll do 2 small ones and a larger one. If you can hear my roommates singing in the background, they're singing along to like some SpongeBob musical or something. I live with 10-year-olds. Oh, that's funny. Okay. So, there we go. And I think that's it for this card of the week. Alright, well, I hope you enjoyed watching and learned some new tips. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave a comment. And I'll catch you again next week. Thank you very much for watching.